What's good, YouTube, baby? It's your boy, Uncle Duck, coming to you from New Orleans, NOLA, the NO, the Crescent City, the Big Easy, baby. Welcome, welcome, welcome to my brand new YouTube channel. I'm just here to discuss current events, what's going on in the culture, and we're gonna get into this content, man. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for being a part of my evolution, my growth, and this new chapter in life. Um, to start off 2025, it's been a little bit of a rough start, especially in my city and among other places for the nation, for that matter. Um, Not only was New Orleans hit with a terrorist attack, but also there was a potential terrorist attack. I don't know if they're considering it a terrorist attack at this time on what happened in Las Vegas. But with no further ado, let's get into this content.
We are now taking a live look at Bourbon Street in New Orleans, where a man from Houston intentionally plowed a pickup truck into a crowd just hours into the new year. Investigators are calling the incident an act of terror. And officials say at least 14 people and the driver are dead. Dozens more were injured. Investigators believe the attack may have been inspired by ISIS. We caution some of the images you're about to see may be disturbing.
Inspired by ISIS. I want y'all to take mental note of that. Inspired by ISIS. So let's continue.
Here's ABC's Lionel Moise.
This morning, the careful work of gathering evidence continues just over 24 hours after carnage on New Orleans' most famous street. New video shows the speed of the pickup truck that plowed into people, killing at least 15 and injuring many more.
We have dozens of people that got hit by this car.
Surveillance video shows the truck flying an ISIS flag coming down Canal Street around 3:15 a.m. before turning onto Bourbon and speeding into the crowd.
We ran one way, so like about 5 feet away from the curb, and we ran into the bar to be protected by the little divot.
Authorities identifying the suspect as 42-year-old Shamsud Din Jabbar, a U.S.-born citizen and Army veteran from Texas, who they say was inspired by ISIS to kill.
Not that it matters much. And I don't want to sound xenophobic or anything. Like I say, not that it matters much, but he don't look like one of us.
They say he was speeding down Bourbon wearing body armor and firing an AR-style rifle out of the truck, racing about 3 blocks before crashing, stepping.
I know just finished pausing it. and but AR style rifle, I hate when the news says stuff like that. It's either AR-15 or it's not. It's just what it is.
Out and opening fire again, wounding 2 police officers. Inside that rented Ford F-150, authorities say they found multiple homemade pipe bombs packed with nails. Sources tell ABC News on that flagpole is a black flag bearing the ISIS insignia.
That's very convenient. Like why they announcing themselves like that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't get it. Like, I understand, in order for it to be considered terrorist, it has to be politically motivated. So that's your political motivation, that flag. But who really goes around announcing themselves like that? And he had to get from his destination with that flag flying from the back of his vehicle. Unless he pulled over somewhere close to Bourbon Street and then he put the flag up. But that didn't raise any red flags to see an ISIS flag in America driving down an American street. That's just weird to me.
A fire at an Airbnb near Bourbon Street yesterday morning is now reportedly being linked to Jabbar. Officials say it appears explosive devices associated with the attack were made at that property. Officials say steel bollards installed on the street were unreliable and were in the process of being replaced ahead of the Super Bowl in February. Vehicles had been placed as blockades, but there were gaps.
We had barriers there, we had officers there, and they still got around. So we did indeed have a plan, but the terrorists defeated it.
City officials say they questioned the construction timeline, wondering why the replacement didn't happen months ago.
I question the construction timeline as well. This is all very convenient. And I don't mean to sound like a conspiracy theorist or anything like that, but that construction should have been done long ago. Very long ago. And what do you mean you didn't have things in place? Well, you had police vehicles, you had vehicles in place of the bollards that weren't erected at the time. Yet the terrorist was able to find the gap. What did he do reconnaissance? Is that what happened? He did reconnaissance on everything? Let me know. Am I tripping? I mean, let's get it.
This construction should have happened much earlier, and everything really should have been ready and in place, fixed, repaired, ready to go now.
Lionel Moyes, ABC News, New York.
Yeah, I mean that should have been constructed months ago. I mean, yes, we're preparing for the Super Bowl here in New Orleans, which there's other than the latest Super Bowl, where we had problems with the power going out in the Superdome, everything pretty much goes off without a hitch. I mean, New Orleans has hosted dozens of Super Bowls, and we host the Sugar Bowl every year. I mean, it's just common sense. Yes, the Super Bowl is what we're really preparing for, but at the same time, we have these bowl events that we do every year. These things should have been in place for those bowl events as well, you know. But that was the first video. Now we're going to get into what Senator John Kennedy here from Louisiana had to say about the matter.
Here's what I want to ask from the federal government. Catch these people. Catch these people. And then tell the American people the truth. Now, I don't want you to tell us yet anything that's going to interfere.
And before I go on, I'm going to rewind this back a little bit. But before I go on, there's been a lot of questions going on in the city from a lot of people asking why New Orleans, like why this happened here. But what you got to realize is as far as making a political statement, as far as terrorism is concerned, I mean, I don't wish nothing bad on my city at all, but I'm surprised that it hasn't been happened. You know what I'm saying? There's something going on in New Orleans 24/7, 365. Bourbon Street is one of the most popping streets, you know, in the city. I'm not going to say it rivals Manhattan. I'm not going to say it rivals the Strip in Las Vegas, but it's a pretty populated, it's a pretty busy street throughout the year. I mean, year round, 24/7, Bourbon Street is going to be popping. And with all that aside, there's always conventions or something going on in New Orleans at all times. And you got to remember that New Orleans is also a major port city. I'm talking about a major port city. We may be like maybe number 3. I'm not sure if Miami would rank with number 1. I'm sure that it ranked number 1 as far as the Southeast at least is concerned. And maybe the one they have in Texas. But New Orleans is right there. As a matter of fact, is at the mouth of the Mississippi. So you got to think like, why? I mean, like I said, I don't want to wish nothing, and my heart goes out to those people who were unalived in this senseless act of violence. because it was 15 people who lost their lives, 35 injured. It started at 10 and it quickly rose to 15, but my heart goes out to those people. But y'all gotta think, this is, as small as New Orleans is a very important city to the United States of America. We're literally at the mouth of the Mississippi, which is the artery that runs down the middle of the country. Let's rewind it back.
What I want to ask from the federal government: catch these people. Catch these people. And then tell the American people the truth. Now, I don't want you to tell us yet anything that's going to interfere with your investigation. And there's things that I've been told that I think are true that I'm not sharing with you today because it could interfere with their investigation.
I wonder what those things are that he mentioned. You see, this is all very convenient. Like I said, like, stuff's just not adding up. The ISIS flag that's flying from the back of the truck. The Airbnb catching on fire after the suspect was taken out. Now, from what I'm hearing, they're saying that dude had help. These are some older clips. So there were like ice chests in the with IEDs inside, and there were some that he put around the Superdome, and they're saying that he may have had help from I'm thinking 3 or 4 other people, 3 men and 1 woman. So I'm still, I mean, we all got questions. So, but I'm gonna let John Kennedy continue.
But after we get to the bottom of this, they need to tell the American people the truth, and the people of New Orleans the truth, and the people of America the truth. I think the mayor and the governor are very wise to postpone this ball game for 24 hours. There's just too much stuff we don't know, and it's just not worth it. But I guess my.
And here's an update: the show did go on as normal here in America. They postponed that show, but there was no way that the city of New Orleans was going to lose out on all that money. There's absolutely no way. And also, shout out to Showface News. He had some, I would say, some connections. And he's reporting that for the Super Bowl there will be snipers. You know, they ain't gonna be just, you know, letting you know that they're snipers, but for the Super Bowl there will be snipers in the building. For that, that's some added protection, and you know, now, you know, there's gonna be a heavy police presence. When the Super Bowl goes on, there's always Homeland Security in the area, the feds in the area, because when you got large events like that, you're expecting potential major terrorist attacks when you got a large group of people. So the city's going to be well protected at that time.
My final point is, I will promise you this: I will. When it is appropriate and this investigation is complete, you will find out what happened and who was responsible. Or I will raise fresh hell. And I will chase those in the federal government who are responsible for telling us what happened, like they stole Christmas.
Let's hope we get some answers. Am I confident that we're going to get answers? Absolutely not. I mean, I don't want to, you know, spew my political leanings, because that's irrelevant. You know, I have no deep ties, connections, or any loyalty for the left or the right. I am not a supporter of either side. To me, it's no different than Bloods and Crips. It's no different than gangs to me. I have no, just like I have no particular loyalty or affiliation with any gangs throughout America. I have no loyalty or affinity for any political party. I guess at the best you can call me apolitical, because I really don't care, but I really don't trust neither side. So I don't know what you would consider that. Maybe I'm a bit of an anarchist. I don't think I am. I just don't care, because at the end of the day, none of it really matters. But like I was saying at the beginning of the video, there was also an attack in Las Vegas. This story I haven't really followed too much. I mean, you got to remember that I am in New Orleans. This has been playing on local news 24/7 with information. So when stuff hits close to home, you really don't have, well, you can have the time, but when stuff hits close to home, you're more concentrated on what's going on in your own backyard than what's going on elsewhere. And not to take away from what happened in Las Vegas, I don't think anyone was hurt other than a suspect, but it's still fear. And it's crazy that these events happened within 24 hours of each other, which further tells me that, one, because I don't think none of this stuff is a coincidence. I don't really believe in coincidences, but it feels like they want to start 2025 stoking as much fear into the population as possible, mainly so they can get across other agendas, so they can take other freedoms away from you. That's always the case when it comes to fear, because when you're in fear, you're willing to give up a little bit of freedom for security. But we're going to get into the event that happened in Las Vegas.
According to the memos reviewed by CBS News from New Orleans in 2017, where they talked about possibly limiting traffic altogether in that area, bollards aside, one of the city memos said businesses weren't keen on that because they want to have traffic coming through.
Now, this is just like a little transition, because I think they touch on the Las Vegas event right after this. I mean, I think it starts off because they kind of like tying these two events together. So they touch on the New Orleans events, and then I think they segue into the Las Vegas event. So bear with me.
They want the business. That's always a balancing act. It's easy to revisionist history, the decisions made, but cities across the country have to consider that too.
Right. If you're going to put bollards up, and then you're going to put squad cars up, and then you're going to put big trucks on top or on reinforced as a layer or in front of the police cars, then what kind of atmosphere are you creating for those who...
Again, you put bollards up. You put vehicles in place. Yet the terrorists still got through. Did he do reconnaissance on this? I'm just wondering. Did he have help with the reconnaissance? I'm just wondering. Or the conspiracy theorists in me will ask, were steps skipped purposefully? Let's continue.
who want to have a safe pedestrian experience
Doesn't say
feel like they're in an armed camp.
Yeah.
And businesses understandably worry and fret about that.
And I mention this because there is, at this point, as this day evolves, some symmetry between an incident in Las Vegas and in New Orleans. There was an explosion of a car near the Trump Hotel in the Las Vegas Strip area.
We see that on video right now.
According to our latest CBS News reporting, somebody in that car is dead. They don't know if it's a man or a woman. You see the scope and size of that explosion. There are injuries, too, and there's an investigation underway as to whether there are other explosives in the area. You have two different events on the same day, both in that business district where there are people, where there are crowds. And if there's a connective tissue between the two, we expect it to come out. But again, you have to make these decisions as city leaders. How far do you want to go now? Do you want to put bollards around the entire business district? Do you want to do what Washington, D.C.?
Yes. Yes, you want to put bollards around to protect people. I don't care about the perception of it all. Oh, you want it to be welcoming. You don't want people to feel like they have to be scared to walk down the street. Yes and no. Okay? Yes and no. And I'm all for not giving up my freedoms, right? I'm all for not living in a surveillance state. But at the same time, if there's things that can be put in place to protect human life, I'm all for it as long as it doesn't impede on my freedoms, if that makes any sense.
He will do January 20th, put huge salt trucks on all the on-ramps and off-ramps to say, we don't want anybody coming around here. In that case, for the inauguration, it makes a lot of sense. But businesses and cities will grapple with, how much do we want to tell people, stay away?
Yeah, and best laid plans, Major. You can plan and plan and plan. But as we heard from Chief of Police Kirkpatrick today, she said we did indeed have a plan. The terrorists defeated it.
According to the memos reviewed by CBS News.
The terrorists defeated it. So the terrorists, this one group of terrorists, they claim he's connected to ISIS, and I got my opinions about ISIS, but this ain't the time or place or space for that. This is not what my YouTube channel's about. But ISIS has some pretty questionable connections, I may say, with the alphabet people, the alphabet as in organizations, groups, not as in, citizens, but agencies. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Agencies. Let's get into this next video.
Turning now to that top story the world has been watching this week. No definitive link between the attack in New Orleans that killed 15 people and Tesla's Cybertruck.
No definitive link. I call BS.
Explosion at the Trump Hotel that hurt 7. The FBI now believes both attackers acted alone. Coincidentally, both used their rental car service Turo to get their hands on vehicles that would eventually be used to carry out those deadly.
Why is the rental car service Turo relevant to this situation? I don't care if it was Hertz. Hertz is a pretty popular rental car company. Is it going to be, you see, that's a good question right there. And I just thought about that because Turo is basically an app or a service you can basically I can buy myself for my own personal use or a Tesla truck or any vehicle for that matter. And I can list that vehicle on Turo to so I can rent it out to people. So is this like a play to limit people from renting out their vehicles on Turo? I don't know. I just had to ask.
Attacks. And tonight we are learning.
Not to say that that's what it's about. You know what I'm saying? But is this going to be used as a catalyst, to limit our access to capital? Because they don't want us to have nothing. Let's continue.
Exactly what the Colorado man was thinking before that fateful drive from Denver to Las Vegas. Your reporter Tori Mason digging into new details found on the attacker's phone. And Tori, investigators say he clearly struggled with mental health.
Well, Karen, investigators have been talking to Livelsberger's friends, family, gathering information, anything they can about who he was and his movements leading up to the blast. They've been quite literally piecing together any evidence left behind.
Officials recovered 2 phones from the Cybertruck that exploded New Year's Day. They believe the driver.
And that Cybertruck exploding outside of Trump Towers, that was a statement in itself. Because Trump is the incoming president, President-elect Trump. And on his team, he has Elon Musk, very detestable human being, if you ask me. Not a big fan. I'm not a fan of either, but I'm definitely not a fan of Elon. I think he's evil personified. But that was definitely a political statement.
Driver Matthew Allen Livelsberger shot himself in the head prior to the vehicle detonating. Though heavily damaged, they were able to access data from one phone.
One of the notes is titled Surveillance Log by the Suspect. It appears to be more of a journal of activity.
The 10-day journal details purchases of firearms and camping equipment leading up to the blast. In another note, Livelsberger writes, "We are the United States of America, the best country to ever exist. But right now we are terminally ill and headed toward collapse."
He goes on to explain a variety of other grievances and issues, some political, some personal.
Another writing suggests a possible motive, saying, "This was not a terrorist attack. It was a wake-up call. Americans only pay attention to spectacles and violence. What better way to get my point across than a stunt with fireworks and explosives?"
That is crazy. So he's telling you his motivations. Oh yeah, this was definitely, and from what I'm hearing, he was he voted for Trump. So I'm not 100% sure. It was definitely a statement. He was definitely trying to get Trump's attention as well, the nation's attention. Shout out to all the veterans out there. I don't think they have enough resources to mental health. A lot of people talk about, they support the veterans, but if you really knew what these people go through after they've done their service for the country, you will be upset. I mean, I have a few friends that were in the armed forces, and hearing some of their stories really disturbs me on just how hard it is to get certain resources and certain help after you've done your time serving this country.
Why did I personally do it now? I need to cleanse my mind of the brothers I've lost and relieve myself of the burden of the lives I took.
Investigators say there were potential family issues or personal grievances in his life that may also have been factors. Despite being badly burned, authorities were able to identify Livelsberger's body. Photos show a match comparison of his tattoos. The contents of his wallet survived.
The contents of his wallet survived the blast. I didn't know that wallets were flame retardant, explosion proof. I didn't know that driver's licenses, passports were fire retardant, explosion proof. Why is it that when all these terrorist events, when all these events go on, they always recover identification? That is insane to me.
The blast, along with his passport found in debris.
Wow.
We had also requested DNA from the family, which was provided to us, and it matched to our suspect.
Now, according to CBS News, Livelsberger confided in his former girlfriend that he had suffered a traumatic brain injury during his military service. She says he suffered from depression, memory issues, and persistent headaches. Officials say this investigation is far from over.
That story that man's testimony about all the stuff he's going through mentally after having a brain injury, all that stuff is crazy. Man, what's this guy's name? He writes books. He's a very famous veteran. Oh, his name is Nicholas. I can't think of his last name. Black guy with dreadlocks. Was an Army Ranger. Oh my gosh, his story is heartbreaking and compelling. He now writes books. That man is doing good for himself now, and he has a similar story after he came out of the service. The stories are too good. It's like after they finish using you, they discard you. That's insane.
All right, Tori, thank you.
I didn't even know that was the end. But that's all the content I have for you today. I'm sure there'll be updates. I don't know if I'm going to touch on it again unless there's something major breaking. Which, you know, there's new stuff every day coming out about this stuff. So eventually we'll all be up to date on it. But I do want to thank you for coming in and joining, partaking in this content that I plan on giving you all of 2025 and beyond. Like I say, this is my new YouTube channel. I'm not new to YouTube per se, but I am a bit of a novice when it comes to navigating the algorithm and everything else. So do me a huge favor. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to share. Don't forget to subscribe. And I'll catch you next time. Peace.